Hey everyone, and welcome. It is April 9th, and thank you for joining us for our live episode here on Friday. Matt, hey, how are you doing?
I am having a much better day. Um, Still not 100%, but I am functional and I'm here. As
That's
everybody
good.
probably noticed, we really struggled to keep up with the schedule this week because I did not get better like we thought we were kind of hoping I would.
We we were delayed one day, but y'all got two episodes this week. We were sure to get those out there for y'all. But yeah, well, I'm glad that you're feeling a little bit
Yeah.
better.
We don't really know 100% what's wrong. It seems to be kind of like a sinus thing without the sinus thing.
Mm.
Sitting stationary or being stagnant does not seem to be working out well. So if I seem a little disconnected or like I'm missing a beat or two, I am. For the record, I have not started. I was officially switched to Adderall, and I have not started it yet because I'm waiting for this to completely clear.
Hmm.
It does not seem like a good idea to add that to the mix.
Yeah,
So,
don't add something to
right.
it
I'm
until you
currently
can kind of
taking no meds, and I have not been for 2 weeks.
yeah.
But it could take a little while to get everything out of my system, along with normal things that just kind of go wrong with your body. And if you're the owner
Hmm.
of my body, things love to go wrong. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
We want
Worst
to
fucking
thank
temple ever.
everybody who's joining us. Hey, Chris.
Hi,
Um,
Chris.
of course, you can check us out as always on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Be sure and go follow those if you're watching the replay. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on out here. I'm getting ready to. I'm currently dealing with my cat.
I was so of course, I have the topic list and everything, and I was looking at it. I'm like, do you want to move one or two of those to like Sunday? Because there's some stuff to be said about a few of these topics.
I
You went
know
like
there's
you went like hard hitting, and I'm like, oh,
hard hitting news here.
a bunch of stuff just fell over on my left side and scared me.
Of course, I guess the biggest thing out this week is that Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth's husband, has died. Um, he lived a long time. He was 99 years old. A statement issued by the palace just after midday spoke about the Queen's sorrow following his death at Windsor
I'm
Castle
not laughing about that.
on Friday morning. The Duke of Edinburgh is the longest serving royal consort in British history. He was at the Queen's side for more than her 6 decades of reign. And his funeral will be held at St. George Chapel at Windsor Castle. The public, though, has been asked to stay away because of COVID pandemic, but a lot of them have already been leaving flowers and different things at Buckingham Palace. And so it's a big thing for people in England.
Right, and
Um,
also, I mean, and the Queen, I believe the family will be mourning for 30 days, and the Queen at this point will be entering an 8-day period of mourning where no state anything will be carried out, and then I believe the country is 10 days of mourning, and
yeah.
at Prince Philip's request, I believe I just want to make sure I get this right. I believe there will be a state. No, I'm sorry, the ceremonial funeral, but he will not at his request. He did not want a state funeral. So I believe
Mm.
that's he wanted the smaller of the events.
Of the yeah,
I believe. From my understanding of him, he was not big on like
all the pop and
following.
circumstance.
Well, I think yeah. So on the subject of Prince Philip, the deep dive of season 1 for my show is officially going to be the monarchy, and because a lot here in America, it's not really part of our lives. So for
Yeah,
us, it's more of a fascination of like this relic of the old world and why is it here and like what goes on, and I
for
think it'd be
sure.
really fascinating. So also get back to my roots a little bit. But it'll be
um,
really fun. It's going to be probably a 5 to 6 episode thing where it's Cody producing and me talking, and it's going to be about that.
yeah, I'm
Cody's like,
excited.
oh good, I just learned that.
I know. We've been trying to figure out what his topic's going to be and kind of the process, and then we narrowed on it was going to be deep dives of things in these multi-part episodes. So it's a really interesting thing I think that people will really enjoy.
Right.
But I
This
think
was
it's going to,
one of the things I wanted to suggest to you, but it was on my list of suggestions here, but it was on a list of like 6 or 7 other things, and I don't want to plan 6 or 7 seasons ahead. One, maybe two, sure, but I like to have room to, change tactics or do it differently. And
yeah.
also, Chris, yes, DMX did pass away today too. That is actually leads us right into our next topic.
Yeah, he died at age 50. He sold millions of albums. Then he took that fame that he had in music, like most musicians, and kind of changed into an acting career, doing some acting things. He had multiple films like um, Romeo Must Die and Cradle to the Grave. Now, in 2019, DMX canceled a planned concert tour actually that he was going to be having, and that was in order to seek some treatment for addiction. He said at the time that he was putting family and sobriety first. Now, the artist had been hospitalized since last week when he suffered a heart attack at his home in New York. Recently, though, he did thrill fans when he collaborated with Snoop Dogg in Verzu's battle. So it's a sad. It's that I think DMX was one of the period of time where you had some of those big rappers, and so it is a loss in that the community in that world to it's a legacy rapper of that period of time that has
Correct. And he's so young. 50 is not old. I mean, when you look at
yeah
our age, I mean, he would have been a teenager when, well, let's see. Yeah, he would have been a teenager when you and I were born. So he suffered a heart attack, and which potentially was brought on by an overdose that's not finalized yet. I'm sure toxicology is still involved there,
yeah
but allegedly he was in a vegetative state for about 30 minutes. Now, earlier this week, I believe it was his publicist released a statement saying that he had been disconnected from life support because he was breathing on his own. Unfortunately, he later issued another statement saying he was incorrect and that he was in a vegetative state and there was significant damage to his vital organs. So, as most of us would know, when you're in a vegetative state, that's really, really bad, and chances of a significant recovery, it declines day by day. And especially if you were truly deprived of oxygen for 30 minutes, just having a pulse
yeah
at that point is a miracle. Several minutes without oxygen alone can do severe damage to your brain. So, it's truly a tragic story. And also, there was something that Kai sometimes drops in and talks to us here. He pointed out to me not 20 minutes ago. He called me on FaceTime right before the live, and he's like, I have one thing to say about this, and it's that when Demi Lovato overdosed, it was just nothing but hate fire towards her. I mean, there was just such a loud call against like her and anything she could have done. But right now, it's rest in peace, DMX. Now, that is not to criticize DMX. It is to say that she was treated completely differently and she survived. And she recently did a documentary where she just kind of talked about everything that had happened. And it was so much uglier than what we would have seen in the mainstream media, which is often the case. And the same
hmm
with DMX. I am sure we're likely to see details um, of his life come out that maybe he would not have wanted us to see. And that's really unfortunate for a celebrity that when they experience something like this, and in this case, unfortunately, he's passed away, that his struggle with addiction went way back, and he's very
yeah
public about it. And then you know this again puts front and center that addiction truly is a disease, and people don't understand that, and it's very hard to make people understand that. So once again, we now have a very influential person who has passed away in tragic circumstances, and in this case, heart failure, which is common in drug overdoses, or even if they did not use really hardly any, because a lot of the harder drugs, they affect your heart, they affect vital organs. So if they've been away from it for a very long time, that's why you'll find that somebody that say they relapse after say 5-10 years of sobriety, they either die or suffer significant injuries, and
hmm
they will say I barely did anything, it just was a slip, because their tolerance is nothing, and their body is so damaged that their body cannot handle anymore, they've hit their limit. So each case is so different. So I really hope that people, please don't judge Demi Lovato and to not judge DMX because we don't know. We're not them. And I think
Yeah.
this is just a good opportunity to mention now that addiction will come back to the forefront of the national conversation for a bit that, you know, just the same respect that's being shown by the media to DMX, that's the kind of respect that should be shown to a person or for a person when they pass away or something happens. Because had Demi Lovato passed away, it would have been, oh my God, this poor girl, where did she go wrong? But because she lived, everybody just had, there was just really loud, ugly things said about this young woman. And,
Yeah.
let's remember, these are human beings, you
People
know.
have a way of wanting to like tear down celebrities, build them up, tear them down, build them up. I don't know
Right.
why, but it's through the ages that's what it's been, and
Right.
it's
And
just like
and it's no
an
different than,
unfortunate thing.
the Prince of Edinburgh. We're seeing that play out literally on Twitter. And I will say, I am no royalist in my heart for my personal opinion, because I'm only a semi awful person. From the perspective of a family, I think it's crushing to lose your spouse of 6 decades. I mean, I don't know what I would do if I lost David. And then, a family has lost their father, their husband, their grandfather. That is a completely different level of grief. As far as there's been tons of articles. What does this mean for the monarchy itself and their rule? And I'm like, don't give a shit about that, y'all. No, no. On a personal level, absolutely, that is devastating. I mean, it's always devastating, especially for the surviving partner of, your grandparents or great grandparents have
Hmm.
lost the first one that passes away. It leaves a massive hole in the family, and especially for the other person.
Yeah.
And on that level, I can absolutely empathize and just feel for them. But we're talking about a monarchy here, and this is a relic of the old world.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's been, well, we won't go into some of the other things that have cropped up online today because I will be sending myself straight to hell. And
Me and Matt were exchanging a few text messages
yes,
earlier about it.
and
I love the royals, so I'm obsessed with royals and the monarchy. Now, not necessarily how it's set up, but the image of it, I just love. And I don't love some of the latest things that have been happening, obviously, and things that happened during the period of time with the Princess Diana. And I think a lot of that actually gets swept under the rug, and that's obviously not what they want for the forefront and for the image of it. But Matt's going to get into a lot of all that when he does
yeah,
his
we'll
little
talk about it
deep dive.
more. Do you think we
Um,
want to do some of those live? I don't
who
mind
knows?
doing them
We'll see.
live.
Maybe
Maybe we can try let's do the first season live, and just that way we can collect all the feedback we can,
all of it.
all of
Um,
it. I will
so
not be
this
doing it
one,
shirtless.
no shirtless.
No
No.
shirtless.
Former Fox host has stormed off the set after being confronted on camera by a blunt black lesbian. Read the headline. Now
I was gonna
Aisha,
say, where did that headline come from? Did you write that? You didn't write that,
I
did you?
didn't write that, but
Okay.
it's
I
a
was like,
a pretty bold headline, huh?
that
But
is
she is a black lesbian, Aisha Mills. Now she previously led LGBTQ Victory Fund. And she was having just a discussion about Major League Baseball. This is actually on the BBC. They were having a discussion about Major League Baseball and the decision to yank the All-Star game from Atlanta. And we know that that was because of the Georgia voting rights bill that they passed, which limits a lot of things. And essentially, one of the basic things, you can't give water or food to people waiting in line. But so that's why MLB moved the All Star game out of Atlanta and moved it to Colorado. And with that, led to this discussion. Now, Eric Bowling is a former Fox News host, and he was very concerned because of this, because of the black citizens in Georgia, saying that it's going to hurt minority owned businesses in Atlanta who would have benefited from the game. Now, I do think it's important to do a sidestep on this real quick, in that what he's saying is true. And that is why you have seen a lot of activists in Georgia right now not calling for boycotts. Um, they are calling for discussions and calling for people to speak out, but they are not calling for boycotts. Tracy Abrams has also walked a fine line of not calling for boycotts. Many people
Stacey
don't think
Abrams.
Stacey Abrams, Stacey Abrams has not called for the boycott. And again, it is because a lot of it does hurt a lot of Georgians. And so it is a really fine line of what you should do or shouldn't do. And in Stacey Abrams, in saying that, though, she doesn't talk against people who want to choose to do boycotts, but she personally is not calling for that. But when you have someone like Eric Bolling who is putting out this image for conservative Republicans like they care about these neighborhoods, that's not true, because they clearly are passing voting laws talking opposite of the Black community. And so anyway, he was saying that, he's caring about the Black people. And then Aisha Mills is like, well, no, you're not. Now, the conversation left Bowling in such a huffing, puffing mood for the next few minutes during that interview that he walked off camera. And here, we'll let everybody watch that.
Oh, God. I was
because I think it's really rich for any Republican, especially a white man, to run around and claim that they care about the economic condition of Black communities and Black businesses when that's all a lie. Okay, there's nothing in their policies or the studies that they've done. The other thing is that I don't work for the Biden administration.
Eric, I'm so sorry, we can't hear you. I'm going to let Aisha finish.
I don't work for the Biden administration, never have, but what I am is a Black person in America. And everything that these voting laws stand for and what they look like are reminiscent to the Jim Crow policies that my family's lived under. Every single thing about it. So this is all about racial discrimination. And how dare you try to act like you are somehow a proponent of Black people and businesses just to make a point and to try to create a wedge. It's ignorant and it's just disrespectful.
That's disgusting. I'm done. Put me off. That's disgusting. I am nowhere anything you're painting me to be. And the problem with American politics is exactly that. Because I'm white, you think I'm racist. That's BS. I'm done.
Will you just stay, Eric? Will you just stay for this question? So the question we've got, Aisha, is stay for one question, Eric. Let me put this to you because
I don't know why I'm staying here. I don't know why. I need an apology.
Let me put to you the question that Mitch McConnell was saying.
For being offended. No.
Aisha, okay. I think we've lost.
Oh, girl, he mad.
Like what? Like, okay, come on now.
Right. She is
she's
so right.
totally
I grew
right.
up in the neighborhoods I grew up in were economically depressed, and I was absolutely I was the minority white guy in a Black neighborhood, and I did not. I mean, even looking back in the areas my family lived in, there wasn't nothing done for those communities, and even then, living in those communities, I still had an advantage solely because I'm white as, and watching him get so angry. Did you see how red he was? Redder than my shirt. And him demanding an apology is so. And she's right. It is ignorant. Just because I don't know how many people that are watching this or will see this on replay are white. We are not exempt from her comments. Just because that even as liberals, even if you don't vote for those things, we are not exempt from them because we benefit so much from how the system is set up now, and there's so much to be done to expand law and privilege. There's no reason everybody cannot have the same benefits. It shouldn't be. It's literally a freaking hero story when the kid comes up from the projects. So it's usually a Black kid comes up from the projects and gets a great scholarship to a school, and can still, what most people don't know is even with a good scholarship to a school, you might still barely be eating. Your advantage is if you're an athlete, you have some more perks, and maybe, you have coaches and stuff. But if you're just going for academics, you will probably still be a starving student for years. And it's still hard. Just getting the scholarship is not enough. Yeah. And things like that start with these voter laws, because when you have these cutting the drop boxes and the USPS system and so many of these things, it makes it harder for people to vote. And when you make it harder for people to vote, less gets changed. And if less gets changed, it just kind of rolls on the same. And Cody disappeared. I think Salem's being a bad kitty, and was Salem being a bad kitty?
Of course.
So as I was saying, that if we don't expand these laws and nothing changes, it doesn't matter who's there. Well, it does, because it can get worse. It can get worse. Status quo is not good enough, and that's why we're not exempt. Even if we don't say, well, I didn't vote for that law, I voted against it. That's great, but we still need to do more. There's still a call to action, because more needs done, and it's not something that's going to be fixed overnight. And I think a lot of people want to fix it the way they think they're going to fix their finances. Like, oh yeah, we hit the lottery and pay off all my debt in one swing. Anybody who's ever paid off significant debt without their parents' help, or like a major financial windfall, it was not done in one swing. It was done with planning, careful execution, watching your left and your right hand, and then trying to deal with everything that crashes down on you while life is still happening. I don't see how we could ever fix so many of these things that are wrong without approaching it in a way that's like that. Like, you have to consider more than just, oh, we're going to pass this one big bill of laws that's going to fix everything. Well, it's not. It might open some doors, and what that does is lay the groundwork to do more, to fix more laws and balance out the playing field. It's just amazing. Like, have you ever seen the textbooks that kids use in schools that don't receive good funding or proper facilities? But you'll always hear, oh, they went to a good school in an affluent area. Well, did you hear yourself? Like,
yeah,
did you
exactly.
did you hear what you just said? And I just think it's important that we highlight that. And and she was right. She just went for it. And I think that it just needs to continually be said. That other guy was so angry.
Yeah, I think,
oh my God.
Angry over something ridiculous, because again,
right, he took that so personally, and I'm like, well, she didn't say, sir, she didn't say, oh, you're out, calling for the assault of my friends. She's saying that it's not appropriate for him to speak on behalf of Black people, and it's not. The only thing we're calling for is a call to action, because we're the only ones here on camera talking right now, but we're not speaking for anybody.
It went Salem. It went back to Miss Osborne, and how she took it so seriously on the talk, Sharon Osborne, and how she took everything so serious. And then finally, again, same case with this, she was calling for an apology and something, and he was calling for an apology again from her.
Yeah,
and it's
that
like,
was embarrassing.
what?
That's embarrassing.
Why are you asking an apology from these Black Americans when they're speaking on a topic that is personal to them and personal to their families or people that they know? It's ridiculous.
Jim Crow was not a long time ago.
I think in this case, Eric Bolling, the whole case of, talking about the Black neighborhoods being harmed because of this, he, again, I think took up that talking point because he saw others talking about that, and some liberals talking about that point, and then he was trying to take it and own that for his own talking point. And yeah, that can be a legit talking point. And when you actually look at it, it can hurt small businesses that may have been depending on like the All-Star game coming or this and that. But at the same time, you can't be a white man who is arguing for these laws and these voting laws that is going to restrict people in these communities. Like, you can't do both. It is not you do not have a place to be speaking up.
You put out this law and said, hey, we should do this. And the Black community says, no, that's hurting us. That's bad. That's a racist move. Akin to Jim Crow laws that my family lived under, which was not very long ago, y'all. And his response is, you need to apologize to me because you're assuming I'm racist, and that's the problem. Whoa.
You are. You are. He's racist.
I was like,
it's all it is. And I think that's important. That's why we're talking about the voting bills this week on our podcast episodes, is because they are going to dictate a lot of these states in the direction that they're going to go in the near term, because they are limiting voters. So we got to get out the vote. We got to work against these things. And then really Congress needs to kill the filibuster and pass the voting rights bill, because that will help a lot. That'll eliminate a lot of issues that these states are trying to pass. Hi, welcome, Kai.
Hi.
So everybody knows, if we've been watching the podcast or listening to the live shows, that I love television shows. So Peacock Network, if anybody doesn't know, that's NBC Universal's version of their streaming service. There is free versions of that one, so that's great. But they are rebooting the television show Queer as Folk. Now, this is the third rendition of the show, because there was the original, the British version, then there was the American version that came out on Showtime. And of course, this new one is going to explore a diverse group of friends in New Orleans whose lives are transformed in the aftermath of tragedy. Now, this is going to be an 8-episode reboot. It's going to be created by out Canadian director Stephen Dunn. Now, this new version will have the creator of the UK series. He's going to be joining Russell T Davies. He's going to serve as an executive producer for this 8-episode series. Now, he just recently finished the HBO miniseries on HBO Max called Sin, which focuses on LGBTQ issues, which is a great, great show. I have not been able to check it out yet, but the trailer looks amazing. Now, Stephen Dunn, who's going to be creating this show for Peacock Network, says, so much has changed in the last 20 years. And how wonderful would it be if the next generation didn't have to watch Queer as Folk alone in their dark basements with the sound muted, but with their family and friends and the volume cranked all the way to the max. And Lisa Katz, president of NBC Universal Scripted Programming, said Queer as Folk was more than just a show. It was groundbreaking and a necessary voice for so many people. Stephen's new version for Peacock arrives at yet another pivotal moment in our culture. I thought that was something, when you look at that 20 years ago, the Queer as Folk that came out in America, and how he talked about how now hopefully kids and young people who are watching it don't have to watch it in dark basements, sound muted, trying to hide it from their family, and that they might be able to be more open with it and sit down with their family and actually watch a show like this. And I think that that is true, but it is an interesting thing to look back, and how much has changed for the good. Still a long way to go, but how much actually has changed in the whole world, and how younger people, sometimes feel a little bit more at ease in coming out. And I think shows like this do help with that.
I don't have an opinion on. I'm glad. I mean, I hope it's a lot more, diverse. Oh my God, I don't know if it's being inside for a year, but I just don't give an absolute shit about movies and TV anymore. Like, I know it's your thing. I know it's Davis' thing, and I'm just like, I don't give a. Like, as long as it's diverse and not the same group of people, like. Saved by the Bell has been rebooted and is on TV, and I'm just like,
I've yet to watch that one, but it's also on the Peacock Network.
I just want to know, like, the only like calendar I'm really interested in and like year is why the Mayan calendar wasn't right and why it didn't end in 2012, because I've had enough. Like, when it comes to TV and movies, I'm just like, nah.
Oh my goodness.
Cody's like, damn, dude.
It's like canceled.
Fast and the Furious 23. Like,
the franchise is ending. There's 2 more movies, but it is ending. I do love
movies. That means that it's not an ending. That's an opportunity for a spin-off.
There already is one.
Christ, Cody,
Hobbs and Shaw was the spin-off.
You are not selling this.
Fast and the Furious 23. Yes. Keep them coming. I agree.
Oh, God.
They are so good. They're so good. They're so good.
I'm not saying I haven't watched a ton of them, but like,
they're just fun action movies. Now, I would think anybody who wants to go critique them, sure.
And Chris and I's friendship. We were friends when Tokyo Drift came out. Okay.
Okay, I did not really care for Tokyo Drift, but
I didn't
that
get
period.
to see it because I didn't like my roommate at the time, and he was all obsessed with it. And I'm like, just if it will get you out of the house, go watch it and leave me alone.
Like, I'm not obsessed with it, but like it's good. It's good. So yeah,
I
this
love the
Peacock
first one though. No, not like not a
they get
tangent.
better.
Love the
They turn from being like a car movie to more like heist movies. And so that's kind of my type of film.
I
Jonathan
saw
is
1, 2,
saying,
and 4.
um, I'm just hoping this update will have actual representation and not just for black random blink and you'll miss some characters. And that's just not me pulling a number. Yes, hopefully it will be more diverse, more, I guess, basically realistic to how the world is instead of some perceived notion um, of the world. I mean, that kind of actually gets me. Me and Justin were talking about this, and if you look at any like queer television show or movie that's out there, um, it's always like a tragedy story, and this one is going to be they're transformed in the aftermath of tragedy. So I get it. And I get the idea of it. And I think if you look back at the history of Hollywood and bringing up LGBTQ issues, it was directed and produced many times, at least early on, by people who were not a part of the community. And so they were putting out a perceived notion for what the community was. And so I think that's why they always brought up tragedy. And obviously, there's a lot of tragedy to be told. Obviously, with the AIDS crisis, that's what Sin focuses on, and the tragedy of different things that people go through about coming out or hate crimes and that kind of thing. And I think those stories are important to be told. But I also think there can be a space for just like happy gay stories. Like there doesn't need to be someone dying or something like that because not every straight film is there a tragedy. Like I feel like we need to start having some LGBTQ movies or TV shows where there's literally no tragedy and there just is happiness because there can be happiness. I don't think you want to eliminate completely, but come on, let's be a little bit diverse on storytelling as well. Uh, and going back real quick, we had mentioned Tokyo Drift and Fast and Furious movies because, and Chris is like, Tokyo Drift was the worst of them all. Yeah, I do agree. I do agree. I
Yeah,
didn't
I didn't
care for
even
that
see
one.
it. I did see 1, 2, and 4, and I think 4's was something about same car, new parts. Like that was like the slogan for
Yeah,
it. And I did actually, I think I saw it in theaters, if you can believe that. And
I'm
yeah, and I didn't hate it. I liked it. I was just like, okay, I think, I think I'm done now. And because I like cars, I will always be a car gay. Uh, many weekends found me in a garage, or actually in Chris's garage sometimes back in the day. Um, Not very sober. Thank you, Chris. It makes a hell of a drink. I'm telling you. Like,
I don't know if it's a good thing to be working on a car when you're drunk
uh,
or
well,
drinking. I should clarify.
observing. I was not actually working on said car. I arrived later and stripped down to my Aussie bums, and we went to the pool, community pool. I was appropriately Aussie bummed up. This is not selling anything, is it? This is not helping. No.
Hey, everybody. We want to thank you if you're joining us. We had a few people come in now. So I'm glad y'all are joining us. We've been just talking about a few headlines that are coming up. And we just recently were talking about Queer as Folk being rebooted on the Peacock Network for an 8-episode series. And that got us talking into Fast and the Furious movies somehow. Somehow we got into the movies. Basically because I love television shows and movies. Chris says you can't say you didn't have fun.
Dominique had texted me and said that the Twitter wasn't working, so I was sending him the YouTube. And again, I am very sorry if it seems like I'm missing beats. If you missed the first part of it, I kind of still am. I'm not 100% yet, and things are not like clicking where they're supposed to click. So, and Chris, yes, Chris and I always have fun together. Partly because he's like, here, have this like totally not strong drink I made you, and then he just kind of like lets me be weird, and then encourages it. But there's that. So
I feel like we would get along, me and Chris.
yeah. Well, speaking of me being weird and it being encouraged, if you've noticed, this should have been actually one of the segments we did. David, my husband, has become more active on Twitter lately.
I did see this.
He changed to an actual face picture and just drove a
I
little
started noticing it. I was like, what is going on? There's a lot of photos. There's pictures of his face.
Yeah, and he changed to a different handle, so because he's not anonymous anymore. And,
I did love the new handle.
And he did get suggested by Johnny Apollo to be Chaos Demon Handler, but it was taken. And David later was like, I'm not really much of a handler. I just sort of like watch and let you just do your thing. David, he's like, I'm more like Chaos Demon Enabler.
Yeah, I've enjoyed seeing his face.
Everybody loves Thirsty David. I'm just like, you guys, I'm telling you, I am not. It's like when you guys see Cody kind of let his hair down a little bit. It is not me. There's a reason y'all are friends with me. Like, it's not just because, like, oh, Matt's being so funny and weird. He. No, y'all are some psycho bitches, and you're right along for the ride. Do not act like it's just me.
Yeah, me and David have been talking recently. I'm excited.
I noticed in the middle of one of the clips that my shirt.
We're not sponsored, Matt. Come on.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh shit, I'm not even. Yeah, do I need to not wear a branded shirt? I didn't think about it.
You know, like how they put tape over things. I'm excited for some pictures coming my way. I'm just saying. I've heard there'll be photos.
There'll be photos of what? So David and I do not share conversations. We do not read each
overalls.
Oh, that's right. He did. That's what he was talking about. So we're in the Starbucks
and some other things,
and he, I bet
overalls though.
He was like, "What do you think of these overalls?" He's like, "I met because you had messaged me back right when you did." I was like, "Oh, did he message you?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Hey, bitch," and he was like, "Hi." I'm like, "Of fucking course he did."
I had saw his message and then I forgot to respond and then he said that and I was actually awake. Jonathan says only 8 episodes we were talking about Queer Folk sounds closer to the original UK run, which also featured a tragedy of sorts. Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, I think it'll go on more episodes. It seems like lately when they do like when they do shows, they like trying to keep them like short, 8 episodes, 10 episodes. That's kind of what Apple's doing, 10 episodes. I'm sure. I mean, hopefully there'll be more seasons if it's a good show. Because always representation is great. And so again, hopefully, as Jonathan was hoping, that it'll more actual representation on that show. We'll see. No casting has been announced for that show yet. It was just announced. It initially was going to be on Bravo. There was going to be a reboot, and then that kind of faded away, I guess. And so it was just announced that it will be coming for the Peacock network, that streaming service. So we'll see what kind of storylines they give us. And yes, Jonathan also says we love Visible David. I'm happy to see him interact with everyone. And Chris, yes, get David here.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, like, about having him like join us occasionally, and I'm just like, I don't know if you guys are ready. So in Starbucks today, he was showing me overalls and stuff. He's like the shorts overalls things. He's like, I'm like, well, I don't know. He's like, what do you think of these? And it's not a normal thing for David to ask about clothes and stuff like that. It's just not normally something we really care about. So I was like, wait, is this because of Cody? He's like, yes, I want a pair and they're really cute. I'm like, okay, well, ask Cody. Like, sorry.
Yeah, I usually have them for my urban farming tips that I do each week, and I always wear overalls. Matt's mentioned it before, and yeah, so he messaged me and was like, "Where did I get them?" And so I told him, and then he ended up finding some, and so hopefully he's gonna enjoy them. I think they're gonna be cute. I was gonna try to find a video of me.
You guys should like totally. Oh my gosh, when we come out there, you and David should totally do like one of your chicken videos, because
oh my god, that would be fun.
In the overalls, it would just be literally the cutest thing ever. I want to warn you that if you think I am weird and do weird shit, I want to let you know that I am pretty freaking tame compared to some of the things that comes out of his face.
Is that true?
You all know. Text him and ask. He will. He's definitely. I showed. So the other thing, one of the things David does is if you show him something on your phone when he reads, like when he reads a book on his laptop or his iPad or whatever, he doesn't read out loud. But if you show him something on your phone, as he's reading, he'll read it out loud to himself because it's off your phone. He's trying to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's something really silly or totally inappropriate, off color. And it's just really funny to hear it read out loud. Some of the memes that have gone around today, I got him to read. And of course, he's reading, not thinking. And
so these are the overalls. This is what David saw and was like now wanting to have overalls. We're going to be twinning.
Twinning.
He's clearly going to be way taller than me.
Yeah, by like a foot.
I'm going to be the mini me version.
Yeah.
But those are the overalls that inspired the I love them. They're so comfortable and they're so nice to work outside, like, because if they get dirty, whatever, they're not going to like get ruined. And then if you're just wanting to go out, they look really cute. And it looks super cute out here when you go like to the beach or something. I just love it. So this one, a little bit more serious, but Arkansas now is going to be aiming to ban trans people's correct names and pronouns in school. Now, Governor Asa Hutchinson vetoed a bill earlier this week that did ban gender-affirming healthcare, but then his veto was overridden by the legislature. He did express opposition to this proposal. Now, the proposed law progressing through Arkansas's legislature would allow educators to misgender and dead name students if they wish, and then would protect them from reprimands if they chose to do so. The bill doesn't specify how an educator would determine a student's assumed biological sex, but the bill's sponsors claim they could amend the bill to clarify that later if they find it necessary. I hate bills like that or laws that like, well, later on we could do this if we need to clarify it. No. The bill is unnecessary, the governor said. I'm requesting my Department of Education to further evaluate. The legislature, a Republican supermajority, seemed primed to ignore that, though, and pass the state's fourth anti-trans legislation into law just in this calendar year alone. I just can't. Like, when you have a Republican governor who also appears to be against it. Now, who knows if that's him just saving face, knowing that he does have a supermajority and it's still going to pass.
Right.
And then it can just
sad
be on
that we have to question that. I mean, it's very sad, but either way, it's passed. So I imagine if it hasn't happened already, the ACLU will sue. And now a lot of times, a lot of laws get thrown through, but once they become law, then they can be sued. And that's what we see a lot. That's what happened a lot during the Trump administration, because they focused so much on just really trying to erode our rights every time we turned around. But they were constantly sued. And you'll find that, yes, we took some hits, but a lot of it has been at least reversed to we're either status quo or slowly being restored.
Mm-hmm.
And which is good because we don't have to waste time doing that. We can start working on more progressive things to move protections forward. It's just amazing that how many things were just thrown back one after the other, after the other, after the other, and how our right-wing counterparts, a lot of times, speaking of our actual parents and families, don't give a shit about us. Yeah, we'll still go home. Some people will still go home for Thanksgiving and say thanks. And be like, no, f off, Grandma. You know?
Yeah. So, you know, it's one of those things that people have to keep speaking out against things like this, trying to let younger people know that it is okay. It's unfortunate that they, you know, are growing up in a state that is doing this, but I think representation in media, representation in news, is something that we need to keep speaking out and doing, so that people, younger people, know that it's okay, and that, you know, it's unfortunate that adults that are also
absolutely
doing that.
They need to see. I mean, yes, we know that very likely the ACLU, if not them, somebody will sue for protection, but younger people need to see we need to be the adults for them that we needed for us when we were their age, when we saw things, when we knew what we were and who we were, when we started to figure it out, and we saw the hatefulness, the rhetoric in the news and movies, the tropes, the nonsense. We need to keep pushing against that. Even if you personally are not suing the state of Arkansas, your voice out there, it'll get back to somebody. And you may have, most of us know we probably have some gay cousins, and if there is no gay cousins, you're the gay cousin. But we're all getting a little older now, so we have little nieces and nephews growing up. Chances are, statistically, a couple of them are gonna be on. They're gonna be family, so be loud, because remember, we do need to be those voices.
Yeah.
We want people to speak up for us too. We want our lawmakers to speak up for us. We want the people representing us, because we're constituents too. But on a more personal level, we need to speak up and show that we don't have to tolerate it, and that there is life
Yeah.
outside of. Because how isolated do most people feel when they come out and all they've ever known is this little family bubble, who the first time they say, well, I'm gay and I'm not going to that family get together, they're like, well, curses on your house. And you're like, oh shit, what do they do? They literally have nowhere to go. They have no friends. They have no support network. And I don't even just mean like a place to stay, but I mean, an emotional support network, a mental support network, somebody to talk to and to help them reinforce that. It's like, no, yeah, I know you're stuck living there right now, but you don't have to go with it. You're an adult. They will get over it, and to push back, because we have a whole generation that there was a reason they used to be called the me generation. They're the generation that don't take no for an answer, for like in the worst ways. And it comes from their kids too. Well, guess what? You're an adult, and your parents don't get a right to walk all over you. And sometimes you have to assert your rights, and they'll be fine. They will get over it.
Mm-hmm.
You got over not getting the gift you wanted when you were 6. They'll get over not being able to abuse you anymore. As I said the other night, walk it off, Grandma. You're okay.
We need like a list of your catchphrases.
That's gonna be on the t-shirt. That's gonna be the first t-shirt. Walk it off.
You need to start writing these down. You need to start writing these down, Matt, so we don't forget them.
That's a good idea.
Make a list.
List? Oh God.
I want like a list.
What ADHD person doesn't have a list? I've got like 40 of them.
We'll start a list for this. All your catchphrases that we can put on merch. We're going to have merch one day soon. So here is a good law. This is a good law. I support this law, Matt. Virginia becomes the first southern state to legalize marijuana. Now, on Wednesday, Virginia became the 16th state to legalize marijuana, allowing anyone over the age of 21 and older to possess an ounce or less of it and grow up to 4 plants starting in July. Now, the state legislature approved a similar bill in February that would have legalized possession on January 1st, 2024. But critics argued the delay would hurt Black Virginians who are disproportionately arrested and fined for possession. As a result, Governor Ralph Northam proposed changes to make the provision or possession and cultivation go into effect earlier. The bill, however, still calls for the commercial market to open in 2024. Same thing with New York. The commercial market's going to be delayed in its opening. But making that means Virginia residents are still going to not be able to legally buy the product for a few years, which I don't even know. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's legal. You can have plants, you can do this, but hey, you can't buy it legally. Like, come on. Now, I know there needs to be that. I know, like in California, it took a little bit for them to get all the information out, because there's these shops that sell the marijuana. Certain protocols have to be put in place, and so on. I understand that, but like, I think it's great news that in Virginia you can now legally have marijuana, joining New York that recently did it, and a whole flood of other states, because my belief is that marijuana should be legal across the country.
Should be legal.
Yes.
Criminalize all of it. I mean, let's stop worrying about that, and let's focus more on education, on what addiction is, and helping people understand that addiction is a disease.
Yes, we had I believe Oregon this last election, Oregon and Washington legalized basically drugs in a sense. And what that basically, they want to focus on, if you are doing drugs and it is causing issues, we want to get you help. And
Right.
so that, you don't go down something that ultimately could lead to your death.
Right, and getting thrown into the criminal justice system, it's not going to get you. Yeah, you're going to have some people who manage to pull out of it, or some of the programs get help, but those programs are so underfunded that the amount of people they're helping is such a small number that what it could be. And I think if anybody knows anything about our criminal justice system, it is not about reform. It is literally about punishment and having a boot on your fucking back. And I took classes for that, and it's very frustrating. There are, I think it was Sheriff Arpaio, that got a pardon, and it's absolutely disgusting that he got a pardon. He's the former sheriff, I believe, of Maricopa County in Arizona.
Yeah, in Arizona.
And in one of my criminal justice classes, there was a criticism of him. It was a video mostly starring him and about how they do things out there and how well it worked. It kept the inmates in control, but I was like, how does this get a lot of these? Like, a couple of the people were being helped, but in the meantime, they were in so much danger from within the walls of the system that I'm like, it's just, hit or miss if somebody's going to shank them that day. And I'm like, this shouldn't be a thing. Like,
yeah,
why? Like, this is somebody who, in jail for possession, non-violent, like, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people really conflate the two with, if everything's legal, then you can drive. No, you still cannot be out of your mind on heroin and wreck 6 cars and say, oh, well, it was legal. Well, it's also legal
exactly.
drink, but if you get pulled over for driving under the influence,
as we mentioned before when we talked about New York legalizing it, if you are probably using marijuana, you're not going to be driving. You're going to be on your couch watching something and eating nachos and Taco Bell or something like that. I think it is important with a lot of these bills. They're expunging a lot of these records for people that have been put in prison. Again, mostly people of color are being put in prison for these possessions, because a lot of times if you are white and you get a possession, you don't go to prison. So if you look at the numbers, that's how it's just been in proportion to the reality. So I think it's great that they're expunging the records of these people. But I do think it's also important that, a lot of times we're seeing that marijuana can help people. Same thing like mushrooms. Some early research, there's not a lot of research because it's illegal, but a lot of research done on mushrooms that can reset your brain and can help with depression. Same thing with like psychedelics and with the mushrooms and LSD. So
I just don't understand why we don't research things, because if we can find the benefits of these, then maybe, because people do them for a reason besides addiction. And finding out why are we looking into all the ways that things could benefit us?
Exactly. Like with marijuana, it is because it's federally illegal. So you have only like 2 places in the country can like study it legally, and though they have to grow, like the way they have to get it, and a lot of times the marijuana that they get to study is not great marijuana compared to what is being sold, and so it's like the whole issue, and that's why federally we need to make it legal. So I would say people should write their Congress people. I know Congress is really maybe going to try to push to make it legal, and then I'm sure Biden would just sign it. He's not going to go against that necessarily. Chris is talking about, can we talk about someone who would benefit from marijuana for health benefits but can't because of their jobs? Yeah, that's a big thing, because, again, it's federally illegal, federally illegal. So a lot of companies also haven't updated that. And so when they do drug testing, you would obviously get in trouble or potentially could lose your job. I think that is something, hopefully, if we made it federally okay, that we could eliminate that, because it essentially is a medicine. It can be used as a medicine. It can definitely help people. So you shouldn't be punished for using marijuana and then working. Like, it doesn't inhibit your ability to work. For me, It helps with my anxiety. It helps me calm down. Matt can always tell if
Oh
I
my
have
God.
taken
Can I
one of
just
my
let me
mints.
tell you where I'm like, Cody, if you do not do something about this, baby, we're gonna fight.
So yeah, I think it completely can be used for health benefits and useful health benefits. And so yeah, I'm all for it. I'm a big proponent of that. I wasn't always, but I think it's education and looking at it, because it's something like, I guess you're always told, oh my God, this is a drug, this is bad, don't do it. But then it's like, well,
Right. Well,
let's look at
anybody
the
can
actual
misuse
reality of it.
anything. I mean, anybody can literally misuse anything. So, I mean, you can misuse an antibiotic for God's sakes.
Well,
You
you know
know,
what's annoying is like people like basically our parents' age are saying, "Oh my God, they would freak out if you did it," but then they were the ones doing it in high
they were
school.
literally doing speed in the 70s before they knew, like, oh wait, this is not. This is like, oh crap. I used to
Like,
work with a
stop
lady
that.
at United Healthcare. She told me, she's like, oh yeah, in the 70s. She's like, when I was in college, she worked overnights at gas stations. She's like, we didn't know that you could, we just thought it was like, oh, energy, yeah. And she's like, I was so lean and I worked these doubles and got up the next day and went to school and my grades were good. But she didn't know she was overdoing it. She just thought like, oh, I'm good, like whatever. And then she kind of realized, later,
The thing
oh,
is,
oops.
yeah, uh,
Like, but that could have been avoided if we had studied it and people could moderate it and understand truly the effects, because not every substance is for everybody.
yeah.
And people, if you ever, oh God, you know what, one of the most fun slash most annoying Twitter rabbit holes is to find is like weed Twitter is amazing. And
I've not
it's,
stumbled on
it's,
this, Matt.
uh, you act like, what? I do have a psych degree. How people think and what they do and what they say and what's behind it is highly fascinating to me. So weed Twitter is pretty amazing. Oh, you know what's really petty? If you ever find priest Twitter and redneck Twitter, legendary. I mean, there is a level of petty incompetence and miseducation that is there that is so jaw-droppingly fucking stupid that I'm like, oh, oh dear.
Jonathan says, I've always wondered why Cody is always super chill. This revelation makes so much sense now.
Oh, you just don't see him off camera. Like, let me tell you.
um, yeah, I feel like if you're out here, I can speak from experience in California, but I think you would find a lot of people that you would like outwardly think that they don't smoke marijuana, or I don't want to say, because you can get it in gummies and cookies and all that. So a lot of people are able to do it that way or vape it. And but a lot of people do it,
I
and
want vaping to
outwardly,
die.
outwardly you would not think anything of it. Like you'd be like, oh, it's just like normal. I think that's the thing, and people are
Yeah, it's
still
not a
able to
big
be
deal.
productive. It and I think it's better than drinking alcohol.
Some people I know
So
that I much prefer when I'm like, I can tell. And I'm just like, oh God, you're fucking mad. I can look at my text messages and literally tell what they've been doing. And I'm like, maybe text me back tomorrow.
yeah, I
Check
mean,
in.
I obviously you can vapor smoke to a point where you're just like out of it. But then there's also, you can just do a little bit, calms you down, or helps whatever medical issue that you're wanting to deal with, and you can still be
Right.
productive and do stuff. Obviously,
Well, like
don't drive.
Chris
Don't
said
drive.
here, we talk about someone who would benefit from marijuana for health benefits, but can't because of their jobs. Right. Because it's the same, it's kind of treated in the same way as that, you can't go out and have 2-for-1s on your lunch hour and come back, because if you're obviously inebriated, you can't, a lot of jobs will not let you operate.
Well, can we talk
So
about how some of these
marijuana
companies
has
actually
fallen
have?
in, weed has fallen in that same category, and it shouldn't be. If you're obviously baked out of your fucking mind and you can't do your job, yeah, that's a problem. But that is not the case for so many people. And so many
What
people's depression and health problems could benefit from them and get them away from pills, because, we don't have a massive opioid crisis in our country.
it can help. Some studies have shown it can help with that issue, and so it's like, hello, Matt. There's some companies that allow you to drink, that like they have beer available for you to drink on the job.
I don't really like beer. Is that controversial? There's only
That you don't like
every now
beer?
and then. Not really. Every now and then, but I haven't been able to drink anyway for the last 5 months, and I can
Um,
now.
I so I can so I usually would drink ciders, and then but like when we go out like to different like little restaurants or what breweries, because there's a ton of breweries. Like San Diego has like I think more like homegrown breweries than many areas. Now obviously it's kind of spread, but at the beginning of time, San Diego, like every block basically had a brewery.
Most of the time,
Still
I
is a
don't like
lot.
the smell of beer. Like, I'm unfortunately after I had my nose job and I could actually smell the world, I found that I didn't like it. Now, my sense of taste obviously was massively improved, and I developed like uh, more likes and dislikes of things rather than. But you'll
Mhm.
find that I don't have favorite foods, and it's more of like a range of like
Yeah.
20 things. I'm like, ooh, any of those things are delicious, but smells of like beer smells does not usually smell good to me. So
Um,
I don't like, and I also don't really like how it tastes and sits in my stomach.
So like I love ciders, but then when we started going to these breweries, I some of them didn't have ciders, so I had to start like looking. So I can do like light beers. They're great. Um but there's a lot of IPA type beers out here and I can't really do the IPA beers. They're very bitter to me. Justin loves them a lot. But I'll do like light beers. And they're okay. The thing is, out here, since these breweries, like sometimes they'll have 10 or 12 different beers. So there has to be one that is that I can do okay with. But before I would prefer ciders, but now I'll do a light beer. But I don't think it's completely odd that you wouldn't like it. We are approaching our hour here, and we want to thank everybody who has joined us. And the interaction has been great today. Um, and so let's see. Going back some of these comments real quick, we didn't get to all of them. Chris was talking about when we were talking about my overalls, and David getting some. Cody is cute in the overalls. Cody, Matt, and David all in overalls. Matt, do you want overalls too, or are you going to stay away from the overalls?
I don't think I look cute in them. I'll be honest. I'm really self-conscious about how I look in certain things. You guys can't see it, and I don't really post a lot. If you've noticed, I haven't posted a lot in the last 5 or 6 months. I haven't really been able to exercise. I haven't been able to do anything. So I've not felt so good. I haven't been able to work out for longer than 20 minutes without my heart trying to leap out of my chest, which even with the blood pressure med, it lowered my blood pressure, but forced me to sweat that much harder because it's a diuretic. So if you notice on a lot of the podcasts, I'm drinking a ton of water. That was why. So I've managed to, from a semi-healthy diet, to kind of maintain my general shape. But other than walking, I've not really been able to do anything for months. So I don't know. I don't really feel like I look that cute in them, and I'm super, super like sunlight deprived right now. And I always watch what I do anyway. But holy crap, this is like a whole new level. You'll notice I'm wearing a hat. It's because I shaved my head, and you can see my rash today. Like, so if I'm out in the sun, it will highlight it and burn it more. And so I'm like, oh. So I feel like I really can't win. So I still want to avoid like shorts. I'm wearing shorts right now, but for the most part, I've been wearing jeans and hoodies inside and everywhere I can for months out of not feeling so.
I need to now that I've finished my not that I'm going to finish it. I'm going to continue my donut diet, but I'm going to have to start exercising and working out a bit because it's the summer season. And now that I'm going to be fully vaccinated for the summer, which is exciting, and hopefully the numbers keep going down here in California, that's the trend for COVID. We'll actually get to go to the beach this year, which would be really exciting. We did get to go last year. And so I have to get my beach body back in shape, a slight tan, not outside. I'll have to do self tanner because I don't want to tan outside. But I naturally will get tan going to the beach every weekend, which I'm really excited about. But I want my beach body, but we'll see. I don't know. I say that every year and then I eat donuts. I mean, if you even look through my Instagram page, I'm on the beach eating donuts. So that is it's a true thing. So what has me talking this week? So Matt, it's not a TV show. It's not a movie. The last few weeks, it's all been TV shows and movies, but this week it is not. It's a podcast, and so my thing this week is it's called Mac Break Weekly, and they do it each week, and they talk about anything Mac products. So your computer, your phone, your watch, whatever.
Boy, that is
What's
not what I was thinking. I was like makeup and skincare. I mean, that's totally up your alley too. So I mean, yeah. And then I had
so
to
they
think
talk about
I'm
yeah. So they talk about things that might be coming out, rumors, etc. And so it's always fun, and it's very techy, tech oriented, and so I enjoy that because you get to learn about different things. Sometimes they talk about they do a thing at the end where they talk about something that they found that week that it interests them. And I found them talking about YouTube channels because I do my YouTube channel, and one of them brought up this YouTube guide that shows you the ins and outs of YouTube and what works and what doesn't as far as editing. And so you always learn something fun on that show. And I love something where you can learn something that you can actually put to use or that you find interesting. So that's that's me talking this week. Mac Break Weekly podcast. So if you like tech products or if you like Apple products, Mac Break Weekly is definitely the place to go. And they have other ones. He started it, and it's in Northern California, San Francisco, Sonoma area, and they have like several tech shows that they do. And so they're all pretty good and so interesting. But this one, Mac Break Weekly, specifically talks about Apple, the whole Apple world and ecosystem. And it's really good. And it goes on. Sometimes it's like 2.5 hours. And it's crazy that you can talk that much about an Apple product and make it something new each week, but they are able to do it. They also have video versions on YouTube if you want to check that out and you want to actually see it. But that studio, Matt, they have a studio, and I'm like, one day we're going to have a studio.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
our
going to be
dream.
so fun.
That is the dream. I really want Cody and Justin to move back to Texas and build a compound so we could have a studio. But one of the things. So what our conversation actually has been this week around the house is, are we going to stay in Texas? That's kind of been our big thing. We did not know how bad the infrastructure was here. I would never have moved us here. Like, that's how serious I take it. I have been in severe storms. I've been without for long periods of time, and I would not have moved us here because I didn't have to move us here. Once I left my job at State Farm and got work at home, I could live anywhere. I could live literally anywhere as long as I had internet. And we were already here, and it was not as expensive to live where we chose in San Antonio. So we thought, you know what? We're already here. We're established. And you all know, changing your driver's license, all your work, and a long move is so stressful. And at the time, we still had a dog, and it's a lot. And I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to finish my education. So the big thing is, what do we want to do? And that's been a big topic along with my health this last 2 weeks, as it's, again, hiccups. The med they gave me, one of the side effects is hand and foot, like extremity pain. So essentially the meds have been interacting with whatever the underlying autoimmune disease that they don't know which one I have yet. So the meds, knowing what issues I have, and I've complained about them several times, put on, essentially accelerated the whole thing. Amplified it. That's a better way to put it. So everything went from 0, 50 to 150 out of 10. And so it's affected everything from our schedule. It's caused us to question, like, what are we going to do? I had a chat with my doctor. I'm like, am I going to be able to be a nurse? Like, because if I can't use my hands, I can barely open a jar some days when this was going on. Like, how am I going to give an injection? Or, I can work through it, but if I know my hands are hurting, obviously long term, it's not good.
Yeah.
So, but then I have now been off my meds for almost 2 full weeks, and I have felt better about every couple of days. I feel a little better. So I'm like, oh, yay, I can like flex my hands again. Like, they hurt a little, but more like normal hurt. So our whole topic this week is, well, with that, and we're in Texas, do we want to stay in Texas? Like, are Cody and Justin going to come back to Texas? Like, because because if you guys do ever come back here, likely we would probably do something with a studio or create some kind of space that we meet with each other and work from there. Or do we want to move, and where? I really want to see Pacific Northwest. I've never seen the west side of the country, the Southwest, Pacific Northwest. I've not seen north of Oklahoma City of Tulsa, but I don't really want to. So, I mean, it looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong. As far as like just beautiful, there's lots of places I'd love to live.
I always dreamed that I would become rich and I would have a house or different places across the world. That didn't work.
Sometimes there are things you say that I'm just like,
when I was
a whole podcast about the problems of people acting like white people and doing the things our people like that, like again, our families have done and stuff like that. And then you're like, I'm like, damn it, Cody, here it comes. You are going to be the reason we have to do an apology video. I know it.
Oh my gosh. No, one of my things was that I wanted like a little farm, and I've kind of gotten one. I have my chickens. I have 2 cats, a cat outside.
It's the cutest thing ever.
It's something I always wanted. And so it's the best we can do living in a city. It's going to be nice to like have land, and you can have like, I might just be I'm like on Facebook groups in San Diego as far as like backyard chickens and farming and that kind of thing. And so sometimes people will post, oh, I have these chickens for sale, or I have these goats for sale. And like, it would be nice to have land and be like, oh, you see like a cute little baby goat and you're like, oh, I need 2 more goats. Let's go get them. One day. I mean,
yeah, I would love to have goats and stuff like that. Like David also he lived on a farm as a kid for a time period, and it was the best part of his life. I could never handle like the full shebang. I don't have the energy for it, but a small level, I could handle it.
I told Matt, it's not if, it's when we would move back to Texas, and that is essentially is because there's land that you can purchase and it's not expensive,
right?
Because everywhere else, and you also want to live somewhere where you can actually grow things and it doesn't get super cold. I say that knowing that y'all went through a super hardcore, basically blizzard situation.
Oh,
however, that is rare.
See, that was the crazy thing. That was not hardcore at all. If I was home in Ohio or PA, I'd have been like, no.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it did kill a lot of plants and lots of trees, and so normally that would not happen.
People too, and that shouldn't have happened either. Like it. There was a lot of things that happened with that absolutely shouldn't have happened. And watching it happen around me, and I was like, this shouldn't happen. And of course, our useless fucking leadership here.
I do think it is important, not that they get a pass on this at all, because they don't, because they were warned about it. They were warned about it, and the last time this happened, to fix the problem, because it was not wind energy. It was not any solar issues. It was because they did not winterize their plants. But even you can have a liberal state like California, and we have probably equal bad infrastructure because we burn down complete cities because the infrastructure is so bad and people are without power. If it gets windy and you live outside of the city, power's out. If you live in the city and it's really hot, your power goes out.
It's
just
gross.
And that is why this is getting way off topic, but Biden administration infrastructure is dealing with the grid. That's important.
Right. And again, but this is not going to be a one bill fixes it all. It's okay, we got this. Now let's go to the next thing and the next thing. It's going to be people want everything to be fixed always, but that's not how it works. Now with a massive population of 300 plus million people, there's always going to be something that needs fixed.
Yeah. Chris said, I would love giving Rich a try. I'm sure I'd be great at it.
Oh my God. I've always thought that too. People are like, oh, having money would destroy me. And I'm like, I could try it.
I think I would be good. I wouldn't be to the extreme. I would have a nice house, and I'd have my animals. Like I would be more extreme on the animal part. We do want a lot. We want a barn with lots of barn cats. Now, I've told Matt this before. We have our land, build our house, and then Matt and David could also build a little house there. There's plenty of land. It's just like a little compound. And then when the world starts falling apart like it did, Well, we have our plants. We're growing our own food. We're fine. Have a bunker, you know. And if we have to, we can really farm because we have animals. So there is food. I think I've mentioned to Matt before, I would love to like have animals and then have them some as pets and then some, I know this is going to sound really bad, but to eat.
To be honest,
Because
going vegetarian made that so much easier because Dave and I talked about that. He's like, "Do you want to eat these animals?" I was like, "No, I don't really have a desire to, and I don't really like eating meat for the most part. I can eat seafood. I eat seafood and vegetarian."
see, I'm
and,
like, nope.
well, one day maybe you'll grow up and get over it and try something new. And
Matt is always telling me like we're eating this and I'll be like, oh, that sounds good, but not that. I like Justin will eat that, but I'll just.
Cody's like, "I'm just gonna sit there and stare at it." I feel like you must have been a nightmare to feed as a child.
No, because my parents didn't eat that stuff. My mom basically ate hamburgers. Like that's all, hamburgers, pizza, blah, blah, whatever. I actually eat more stuff now than my parents eat. More
Oh God,
different stuff.
I'm
I'll pretty much eat anything except seafood. I really don't care for seafood, but that's about it. So we thank everybody who's joining us. It's been a fun show. It was kind of all over a little bit, but it was still great. I think we got everybody.
Honestly, I will take blame for that, but there was just so many serious things have happened in the last couple days, and it was like we do try to keep obviously some kind of structure so it keeps us going forward, but at the same time, we both have thoughts and opinions on things. And part of the fun of the podcast or of the live is that we have guidelines, but we still get to be ourselves. I did not want us to be two people who show up, say whatever, and disappear. Nope.
I mean, I'm glad that you brought up the overalls because I had totally forgotten about that. And then
Oh, he's so excited!
We talked a lot about overalls, and y'all joined us. Chris was talking with us about the overalls.
Like,
Chris was saying, "I need this podcast. My whole house is Apple." So yes, it is called Mac Break Weekly. I put it on the screen, so if you need to know what it's called, it's Mac Break Weekly. And so it's a great podcast. Check it out. Let me know what you think because I'd love to know if you enjoy it as much as I do. Because as Matt, I think we mentioned it on a podcast. Maybe I'm obsessed with Apple. I'm obsessed with Apple products. I'm excited. I mean, we need to end this soon, but I'm excited because the new Apple Watch coming out this fall may have a blood sugar monitor in it, which is going to be really, I think, a good.
oh God, no! Please don't.
I think it's going to be. I think it'd be a good health change for America because I think people will start realizing and thinking about it, because they'll be able to see that number and know.
Have you run this by Justin? Have you run that? Have you submitted this for approval?
Yes. The Apple Watch. I'm a big proponent of the Apple Watch. I think the Apple Watch is a game changer in the health world and is a lifesaver. It's a lifesaver for people. There's been many documented cases of people being saved because they had their Apple Watch. And
I'm
great
glad
studies
for the people
coming
that
out.
That need it, but I literally hate the Apple Watch. I just hate it.
The Apple Watch can even it can even predict COVID. It has had like a week to just with your data, your heart data, the heart rate interval. It can predict COVID. So I think that's interesting. Lots of health data that is amazing. I love it. Apple Watch, everybody pick one up.
Yeah, I
AirPod Pros too. Oh my goodness, this is turning into a Mac podcast.
Yeah, well, this is some big talk from a guy who hasn't seen Beetlejuice. But also, I did contact Justin about that.
You did. He bought it.
I did. He was like, "My commitment is true. I am taking care of this."
It's not.
That's
I have a ton
of Apple stuff, and I am a former employee of the company, and I literally enjoyed it. There's just certain products that don't work for me that I just literally drive me crazy, and the Apple Watch is one of them because I don't like wearing watches. I like watches. I like watches a lot, but I get blood pressure on the Apple Watch.
I want that.
I don't need
I
to
want
see
that.
my blood pressure. No, I see. I don't want me see, because I'm Cody's friend. I don't want Cody to have that because I want
Well,
to get
I check my
sleep
blood
at
pressure
night.
every morning and every night already. So if it was just already automated, it would be great.
Yeah, and
I love
because of
it.
Cody, I check my blood pressure every morning and every night some days.
I love it because it has the O2 monitor in it now. And so like I can just look at my chart. I look at my chart and can see. It's amazing. And my heart rate, like I think it really does push you to be more healthy. It makes me want to go walk because I need to get my 30-minute exercise
It makes
in.
me want to be healthy. Now, as soon as I finish this donut diet.
See the
Hypocrisy. I know thy
blood
name.
sugar, the blood sugar thing. It might be like, no,
Yeah, you know what your blood sugar is after that? Icing. It's not even a number, Cody. It's icing.
Just my veins
Blood
are solid
type
icing.
blazed.
Yeah, I do want the blood. I also want a temperature, a thermometer. And some things have it, but I want blood pressure, thermometer, and blood sugar. And all three are possible potentially.
After check your temperature, you're all like, "Oh, I'm getting a restraining order, sexual harassment at work." Blah 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 blah. Shit, we're still live.
So we thank all of you for hanging on with us. We had several people join us here at the midway point of the show, and y'all have hung on and enjoyed listening to us, I guess. Thank you. We went a little bit longer today because some of y'all came a little bit later, and so we wanted you to still enjoy the conversation. If you did miss the first half or the first quarter of the show, go back and check it out. It should be available on YouTube shortly and available on all of our channels to check out. Of course, Sunday night we will be live once again at 8:45 Pacific, 8:45 Pacific for another show where we're going to be talking about nonsense and crazy, whatever it may be. It's just a more free-flowing show, so we ask that you join us for that show and have conversations with us because we will basically, to a point, talk about whatever you're wanting to talk about. And we'll have some stuff that we want to talk about, and it'll just be a fun show. I know last 2 weeks ago, me and Matt brought with us things that we wanted to show each other or some funny things that we had seen the previous week. And so we will probably do that again. So you want to tune in and see what I show Matt for the very first time because it could be interesting. Ooh, spicy.
Saucy.
So yeah, thank all of you for joining us. And of course, new episodes of the podcast every Tuesdays and Thursdays. If it's delayed, there will be a reason, but we'll try to get to
It's usually one of us.
The plan is Tuesday and Thursday, new podcast episodes. But thank y'all all for being here and for joining us because it's been a fun show and we love the interaction. So thank you if you've interacted with us because that makes it really fun and it directs us kind of some into paths.
But also thank you for lurking. I think our friend Dominique, who joins us a lot, he was having problems with the Twitter. He joined via YouTube and I'm not sure if it was letting him comment. So if you're here lurking, thank you for.
Yes, I saw.
If you're not Dominique, if you like to just lurk and join, I understand. I've actually gotten some feedback from some people that they don't want to talk, but they like how this works. So they like just kind of being there and not participating, but they want to participate by just watching and listening. And that's awesome. That's fine. If that makes you comfortable and you're comfortable with that, that's fine. If there's anything we can do to help you participate or want to participate, don't hesitate to talk to Cody, to me. I am no stranger. I don't think I've ever met a stranger unless you're being creepy with me. And and even then, I'm usually pretty tolerant.
Yeah, don't be creepy. Be kind to one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my saying. Just don't be creepy. Be kind.
Please don't be creepy with me. It's a little weird. Please.
But again, thank all of you for joining us. And we'll see you Sunday.
Yeah. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.